It's the Brad and John Show.
Nothing like a tight board there, Brad. Tight show. Yes, it is the Brad and John Show. And you know what that means for B-Block, John? What does that mean?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
I'm always amazed at how well you do that. And
It's such a great jingle you got, Brad.
And you're almost on key every time. Okay, I've had to change my top 3 around. And number 3,
It's number 3.
I will talk about the tornado sirens again. Because, John, that was one of John's top 3. This report in the city of St. Louis. John, once again, if you had to open up the dictionary to the word incompetence, wouldn't this pretty much describe what the report stated about the whole tornado siren snafu? Wouldn't incompetence be essentially the word?
I think so. And, you know, one of the pieces in there that I think you'll appreciate, Brad, is something that you do a great job of, which is, and probably to excess, I would say, but you were always in touch. People can always reach you. And I think you probably noted when you read this that the criticism of the Sarah Russell, they pronoun person, was that she was frequently unreachable. Did you see that in there, Brad?
John, that stuck out like a sore thumb to me because of the fact that, see, John and I have this sort of back and forth. John and I comes from a corporate environment, okay? My environment was every job I've had, pretty much every job I've had has been like a 7-day a week, not necessarily 24-hour a day. I started out in the restaurant business. I worked at Steak and Shake. And then I worked as a police dispatcher. And then I was in the radio business, you know. And it's to the point where, you know, I mean, just like, remember we kidded about the fact that the Post-Dispatch gave everybody the day off on 4th of July because, you know, and then what happened on the 4th of July? All sorts of crazy stuff. But that's a whole nother story. If you have someone in a position of authority like that, they have to be accessible 24/7. I mean,
I think if emergency is in your title, you need to be accessible.
Exactly.
You know? And Brad, let me interrupt. So a good example of this, and one of the things that you know, so I'll say here's an exception to my general rule. There would be periods of time when I was on essentially the Monsanto crisis team. We call it the issues management team. So if I had the media line for a weekend, I had to be reachable on Saturday at 5 a.m. or Saturday at 10 p.m. So I left my phone on all weekend. Now, the likelihood that we would get a call or that somebody would come in urgent was low. But if you're on a team that manages a crisis or an emergency, it's your job to be in touch. And that's literally in this woman's job title.
Right. And the problem with this is that if you read the whole crazy story, the tornado siren system in the city of St. Louis has single point of entry. There is one button, and it's, you know, to the point where, like, think about this nowadays. How many of us have our thermostat on our phone? How many of us have our garage door opener on our phone? How many of us can
exactly
remotely control this, that, and everything else? How many of us can you know, I've got a thing called Splash Top on my phone where I can go in and I can fix the computer systems for the radio station no matter where I'm at. Why wasn't the system set up so that somebody can go in and remotely actuate the tornado sirens? Doesn't that just strike you as like unbelievable in like today's day and age?
Yeah, and I'm more surprised by the fact that the city's emergency plan, again, as I read it in this coverage, hadn't been updated since 2003. So to your point, Brad, how many tech advancements have been missed by the city in 22 years?
No kidding.
Like, think of how much you miss if you don't update technology every year. 22 years without updating the plan.
Unbelievable. Okay, and one other thing. The lady's name, and she calls herself they. This is my tip I give to people who do commercials. And if I have a client who sends me copy, and typically what they'll do is like XYZ Carpet Company, you know, is the best place to get your carpet. We have the best flooring. We have the best luxury vinyl tile. I say don't ever use pronouns. Just keep using your company name, and it's the same thing. It's like, remember Bob Dole. Bob Dole will never say me or he or they. It's Bob Dole. Bob Dole.
It's Bob Dole. You're right. And as you and I pointed out, Brad, or as you and I discussed in the first month of the show, The great Vince McMahon, creator of WWF/WWE, his announcers have a strict directive. There are no pronouns.
Right.
When Roman Reigns is beating up John Cena, you never say, "Oh, and he took it to him." You say Roman Reigns, mauling John Cena. You repeat the names. You never use a he or a she.
Exactly. And the reason for that is it's been shown that this is psychological mumbo jumbo stuff, but it is true to a certain extent that in order for you to make an impression with someone, if you're advertising something or you're meeting someone, and matter of fact, one of the tips they give you is if you are meeting people in public and you walk up to someone and they introduce yourself.
I love this story. I use this all the time, Brad. Go ahead.
And they say, "Hi, I'm Jim Smith." You shake their hand and you go, "Jim Smith, Jim Smith, Jim Smith, nice to meet you." That way you've said it 3 times and it sort of sinks into your brain, because it's one of those things that if you say something 3 times or more, it becomes somewhat top of mind awareness. So when you say they, him, her, z, zim, it's stupid. Just use the name again. That's just me, but what do I know? And the answer to that is what's the answer to that is?
The answer to that is your pronouns are dude and dudeness.
Right. Okay. Are we ready for number 2?
Oh, give it to us, Brad.
Okay, number 2.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
John, this one comes out of left field. You're not going to see this one coming. This is like something you're not going to believe. You said that at 10 o'clock this morning, we will find out who the new Attorney General is.
Yeah, who's it going to be, Brad?
Well, I'm not going to say who it's going to be because I will know who it won't be. It won't be Andrew Bailey. But this morning on 97.1, interestingly enough, Andrew Bailey's replacement has started on 97.1.
Oh, yeah. And who is it, Brad?
Dan Buck.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So Dan Buck is going to be the new Attorney General of the state of Missouri?
No, Dan Buck's going to be the replacement to Andrew Bailey in 97.1 because Andrew Bailey...
I get what you're saying. Sorry, I missed that punchline there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what a gaping, pardon the expression, hole to fill, Brad.
Matter of fact, it was funny because Dan Buck is going to be... If you know Dan, I don't know Dan all that well. I've talked to him a couple times through the years. I guess his deals with him putting the sports complex, he was trying to do the thing out there in Chesterfield Valley, and they shot him down. Then he had the Mills thing, which he ran for a while, and I believe that blew up. So I guess he's back in the radio business. But what was interesting was when he's on the air this morning, because he's filling in for Kim St. who's pregnant and having some health issues or pregnancy issues, and Dan was supposed to go in for training this morning, and they have him on the air. So the interesting part of this was that Mark Cox talked about the fact that he knew there was something up with Andrew Bailey, because normally when they call Andrew Bailey, he's more than willing to come on the air with them. And for the past 5 or 6 days, he's not been available to be on 97.1. So what does that tell you? If he's not available for 97.1, he's not available. That means he's moving on up. But the crazy thing about this is, and I have a friend of mine who is a huge Dan Bongino fan, and is he replacing Dan Bongino, or is he like...
No, they'll be co-directors, Brad.
That's not going to last long. I'm telling you.
You don't think so?
No, because it's already... Look, let me tell you something. I think Dan Bongino, if you injected him with sodium pentothal, I think he would say, you stick the needle in his arm, you give a couple minutes. Okay, Dan, tell us how you really feel about taking this job. I made a huge mistake. I should have stayed doing my podcast and should have stayed doing my radio show, because he had an easy peasy job. They built the studio in his home. He lives down in Florida someplace now. He never had to leave his house. He's like Howard Stern. He never had to go anywhere. He never had to go to stupid meetings. He never had to go to D.C. He never had to, live in the swamp and stuff like that. Dan's gone. I'm telling you, if Dan lasts till Thanksgiving, I'll be amazed. I will say, here's my prognostication. I say Dan Bongino is out by the end of September, which essentially is like 40 days from now.
Wow, that's really... it wouldn't make sense, Brad. Now, I don't know. Power sharing arrangements tend to not go on very well. And I could definitely see an exit like you're saying.
Well, it's not going to happen. He's already upset about things. And, and he's... I know people really like him, and I have nothing against him. I think he's an interesting guy, and I thought he was good on the radio. I never thought he was like, tremendously. I mean, I got a little bit tired of him listening on the radio, to be honest with you. He just wasn't my cup of tea.
Did he tell the same stories over and over and over again? And his co-host is like, "Yeah, you told us that yesterday," and the guy just kept going.
Oh, that's why I didn't like him, because he didn't tell the same stories
Yeah,
over
okay,
and over
there you
again.
go.
So no, then I see. I think he's a little bit of a hothead, and I don't think that hotheads do well in jobs like that. I mean, unless you were what's the movie Lethal Weapon with what's his face, where he's, you remember the whole with him and Danny Glover, you know who I'm talking about. Remember the are you there? I think I just dropped you. Are you there?
I'm here. I said Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Yeah, Mel Gibson. Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay, if you know the story behind Mel Gibson, he's the very first Lethal Weapon. He's literally on the edge. Matter of fact, at one point in time, if you remember the movie, he's almost there's a guy on a building, and he comes up to the building, and he does things where he's trying to get killed. Essentially, he's trying to die in the line of duty, whatever. And I think that's sort of like the Dan Bongino guy. He's sort of unhinged. He's sort of like, hey, and like I said, matter of fact, I have a couple friends of mine that just love Dan Bongino. And to me, it's like, I don't know. I mean,
But don't you, if you're Trump and you do the Brad Hildebrand thing and you embrace disruptors, don't you expect a percentage of your people will come in, make a lot of noise, flame out, leave, and then you replace them? Like Dan Bongino is not Will Sharf. Will Sharf runs cool. He's not going to fly off the handle. So you have to have a mix of people that are level-headed and then people that are going to come in and flame out and then leave.
John, do you think I'd be more fun if I was like a Will Sharf kind of personality?
No, absolutely. You could not.
Do you think I could do that?
Yeah, it's just not who you are, Brad.
I see.
And now I have seen Will Sharf do a Brad Hildebrand impression. Have you seen that before?
No, what is that, John? Go ahead.
No, when he comes in with like 30 binders. And I don't know if you know this, but Will once told me that represents all the domains you buy in a single calendar month.
John is so nice to me. He's so nice to me. Okay, are we ready for number one? And I'm really surprised. This is my number one. I didn't have to change.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
I need some help on this, John, because you understand this better than I do. I was somewhat surprised, and apparently I wasn't the only person who was surprised by the fact that when they gave the two, what they call the untethered gambling licenses, that's essentially the sports book kind of thing, one of them was a company that most people have never heard of, but I know probably too much about. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, Circa Sports. So, Brad, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the awards were given out on Friday. And of course, we did not have a show yesterday because I was doing bus stop stuff. And so apparently everybody assumed, including myself from what I had read, that it would be DraftKings and FanDuel, ticker symbol FLUT for Flutter. But it ends up being Circa Sports. Now, Brad, what's your relationship like with Circa Sports? I didn't know you had a relationship with them.
Well, I don't have a relationship with them. I just find it sort of fascinating because it's owned by two brothers. It's owned by the Stevens brothers, Derek and Greg Stevens. And the interesting thing about this is, when I heard this, I thought to myself, I can't believe this. The reason this is sort of interesting to me is the Stevens brothers are disruptors. And one of the interesting things they have done, which has made them incredibly disruptive, is that for the first time since 1980, they built a new casino in downtown Las Vegas. And matter of fact, one of the interesting things was, and the reason I know this is, I've told, and John's going to say, here he goes again, telling the story. If you've ever been to Fremont Street Experience, Fremont Street was like the original gambling alley or gambling street in Las Vegas.
I love it. I've been there, Brad. It's my favorite part of Las Vegas.
Is it really? Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. Compared to I don't mean to step on your story here, but compared to the brand new, everything shiny and sparkly Las Vegas versus like the Golden Nugget and the places that you're talking about, I love that old town stuff.
Well, the reason you probably won't like this story is because they bought property on Fremont Street, and what they did was they took the street, they made it pedestrian, they put like this cover over it, and it's got this neat light show on the roof of the cover and the whole bit. And the Stevens brothers bought several properties along Fremont Street, one of them being Glitter Gulch, which was the topless club on Fremont Street, which I've told the story once time, a long time ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago. I was at the convention. I'm walking down Fremont Street, and the guy who's the bouncer at the Fremont Street or the Glitter Gulch is, "Hey, buddy, no cover charge. Come on in." I go, no, come on in, no cover charge. Once I got in, and I was informed as I got into the inside bouncer, there's a 1-drink minimum, and you can't leave without buying 1 drink. So
yeah, and the drink was probably only $1 or $2, right, Brad? I'm sure
$20, and it was like, I think I ordered an amaretto sour. It was like 98% amaretto sour and 2% amaretto.
So your point, though, Brad, is that Circa Sports is working in Las Vegas.
Well, they built this huge, monstrous new casino. It's actually a very impressive place. It's right on Fremont Street.
And let me interrupt, Brad. The address, because I just pulled it up, excuse me, is 1 Fremont Street. And it's important to note, Brad, which I think political folks will be interested in this story. They have 3, count them, 3 lobbyists that just began lobbying on August 5th. So how many days ago was that, Brad? That was exactly 2 weeks ago, right?
Well, the interesting part of this is that the casino is not as big as a lot of the places on the Strip. And the other part of this is, John, this is interesting. When you read the bios of these brothers, the one brother is sort of behind the scenes. The other brother is literally, if you've ever watched the movie Casino, he literally walks the casino every day. He's glad-handing. He's the owner of the place, and he's glad-handing the people, thanking them. But the interesting part of it is they have what they claim is the world's largest sports book. Their sports book is huge. And if you've ever been to Las Vegas, if you've been to the casinos, the sports book is an area where you can sit and you watch. There's gazillion different TV monitors. They have supposedly the largest video display inside any casino everywhere. And the story I read, just the display, it takes 10 people to operate the display. And this is their deal. And what they do is they cater to the high-end sports bettors. And this is why, if you read the narration from the people on the Missouri Gaming Board, this is why they picked Circa over, I get confused. FanDuel got it and DraftKings didn't. Which one?
No, DraftKings has it and FanDuel lost.
Okay.
People expected it to be FanDuel.
Right. They expected to be those two were going to be the two. And that they said this was on the reason is because of the fact that they cater to a different clientele. And essentially, it's to the high rollers. It's not the guys, I'm going to bet $5 the fact that Wardy Herzog is going to come back from the dead and run the Cardinals. You know, it's not that kind of prop bet kind of stuff. We wouldn't
all be that lucky. Can I finish my story about the lobbyists, Brad?
Yeah, go ahead.
2 weeks ago, 3 lobbyists filed with the Missouri Ethics Commission to represent Circa Sports, LLC. And those lobbyists, Brad, are from Strategic Capital Consulting. And if that name sounds familiar, it was founded by and is led by former House Speaker Steve Tilley. And the 3 lobbyists are Steve Tilley, Tommy Robbins, who's been working with Steve for a long time, and Caleb Rowden, who, as you know, until I guess earlier this year, was a state senator from the Columbia area. So it was a big victory for Steve Tilley and his team, who will now be representing Circa Sports as of 2 weeks ago, will be representing the interests of Circa Sports, the Missouri Capitol. So that's great news for Stephen Tilley and his team.
Wasn't that also the deal that Caleb Rowden gets to do his contemporary Christian music review at the Circa Hotel Casino in Las Vegas now? Was that deal as one too?
Yeah, I think that's part of the thing, but also he's been like handing off between him and Britney Spears. They both have like a kind of a knife juggling thing that they do. It's and Usher comes in occasionally as well. They're all kind of the same genre of music, you know?
I hear you. Okay, John, time for a break. We've beaten this one to death. I'm surprised you didn't the Circa thing, but I thought that would be like in your top 3 for sure.